we're going to start the Borough of Crafton regular meeting dated April 28, 2014. Flag salute by Mrs. Pope.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Amendola.
Yes.
Ms. Amendola is absent.
6.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Pope.
Yes.
Ms. Weitzel. Here. Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Mayor Quinn. Here. Mr. Ayu.
Here.
Engineer.
Phil, Strunk. Here.
Director Beachy. Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the bill list dated April 28, 2014.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the bill list? Hearing no discussion, can we have a roll call vote? Oh, sorry.
One exception of 400.11. That was a donation.
Your stipend.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so you're going to vote with that as an exception.
yeah.
Fair enough. Any other discussion?
Mr. Amendola.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Pope.
Yes.
Ms. Weitzel. Yes. Mr. Hayes.
Yes. Motion passes. I will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes dated March 24th, 2014. The April 14th minutes are not available at this time. We'll do that at the next meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes for March 24th?
I just have a question as to why April 14th aren't ready.
Not finished. The run was done, we're just not done.
Okay. Is there a reason specific?
Yeah, there were several things that come up this week. I was trying to get together and do the meeting packet with holiday off, for the day. And Dr. Beach is off another day. And then some last minute items for DCD for the general obligation that Friday afternoon that took up, so.
That's all I want to know. Thanks.
Any discussion on the March 24th minutes? Hearing no discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Amendola.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips.
Yes.
Ms. Pope.
Yes.
Ms. Weitzel.
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes. Okay, we'll move into citizens' comments. Please limit yourself to 3 minutes, and we have one person signed up. Come up to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Hi, good evening. My name's Mike Steer. My address is 250 Lincoln Street.
Is that on?
Hello?
There's a button on top.
Is that better?
Pardon me?
Oh, yeah, it's on now.
Okay. Can you hear me? Mike Steer, 250 Lincoln Street. I have two things I want to discuss tonight. And primarily they're interrogatories. The first one is, I have no idea what the purpose of the Blight Committee is. I've sat through a couple meetings, I've talked to some people. It doesn't have a scope. There's no direction there. It's just like we're gonna get all these people together and decide what we're gonna do. We already have a ordinance officer. We already have a property maintenance code and a property maintenance board. They're existing. It seems like an overlay to get opinions that are readily accessible anyway. So what their scope is, and the fact that when I read it, it said they have no authority. And frankly, it seems like some of the people on that would have a conflict of interest in it. So that's my comment. And my question is, why, and why don't they just do away with it and let the people that do their job, do their job? The next issue is the Duncan matter. My comments on that are, and certainly as before, most of the people here know nothing about it, didn't have anything to do with it. However, it is no longer an executive issue. The record is, if I'm wrong, Mr. Solicitor, correct me, the record's back from the court, and so now it's time to ask questions. Upwards near $1 million have been cost Grafton Borough, because at no point did Grafton Borough make estimated just compensation to Mr. Duncan, thus enabling the Duncans to sue for delay damages, which they were awarded. Had somebody at any point given Mr. Duncan the amount of money he paid for the property, because this was a key issue from the very beginning, Mr. Duncan would not have gotten $1 million or up near $1 million in interest. The borough would have been saved that money. And I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. Had he been given estimated just compensation, there would not be delayed damages. And we would have just paid the money that was paid. The other thing is, nobody has raised any issue to date about filing malpractice case against O'Malley Law Firm for not filing their preliminary objections in a timely manner. That was a statutory issue. This is Lawyer 101. Should have been done. Cost the borough money. Also, the firms, the professional firms that represent this borough, for instance, Gateway Engineers issued a report. I have these evidences because I was involved in the case. Gateway Engineers issued a report when Mr. Duncan was filing for a permit to remove topsoil and gave an estimate of the topsoil. Then when they get into court, the same engineering firm turns around and says there's no topsoil. Those documents were presented to the court and there was no credibility there. Why are those people still working for our borough? Mr. Ayub's firm, he was not counsel. I don't know what input, and of course it was an executive issue. But I'm saying this, and I'll say it to his face, it's not a snub or anything like that, but if Mr. Ayub's legal firm is professional and involved in that major loss of money to the borough, then, hey, if he was my lawyer, they'd be gone. I'm just saying this is the way I feel. Tom, that's not a snub to you, that's just what I would do in organizing my business. Anybody that's involved in costing me $2 million, they're down the road. That's just the way it is. That's the way it should be. This borough needs to run that way. There is a lot of questions now that this is not an executive issue that need to be answered. People need to review this. Are there council people that need to be surcharged in this? I personally sat in court and listened to Mr. Cindric say to the judge, with his counsel sitting there, we will sit down and talk to Mr. Duncan, but we will not settle. There was an opportunity before that trial to resolve the issues. There were many opportunities, 3 letters sent to this borough that went unanswered, that were requested, where the borough was asked if they would meet with and settle with Mr. Duncan. They went unanswered.
Mr. Sear,
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to finish in a minute. The issue is closed in the sense that the case is finished. I understand your frustration, as we all have frustration around this. It's not money that we wanted to spend, not money we wanted to lose, but it's a closed matter. We have to pay it. We're legally obligated to pay it.
Yes.
And we're going to see to that commitment. So.
Well, I would agree with that, and I appreciate that. And at no point did I say that you wouldn't. But if there is, what I'm saying is, if there is a way to recover some of this money, then it should be an aggressive action taken on the part of the borough to recover it. Whether it's from O'Malley, whether it's from council members that knowingly or whatever. If special counsel advised them wrongly, then by all means, file malpractice. I mean, this is very important stuff. Not only that, now you have a landlocked piece of property. And the only way to gain access to it is to take more property from someone else or buy easements. Now, the only person that has an easement through to that property is Mr. Duncan. He's the only guy that's not landlocked. So if Mr. Duncan was able to get his topsoil out of there that he no longer owns, perhaps you could sell it back to him. I don't know. You know, there was a point at which he took topsoil out of that valley and was charged an axle tax. It was lucrative for Craft and Barrel. They got over $80,000 off of the guy. There's just got to be a way to get rid of this mess. We can't just throw, as a borough, $2 million in the toilet for a piece of landlocked property and get no benefit from it. Especially when it seems that the use of it would result in the consequence of spending more money that you don't have. I mean, I'm just saying, there's new blood here, new faces here, and I'm really confident that there's some creativity here. I just heard it, seen it. I think some of the issues you're dealing with are a waste of time. They're doing things over again that are already done. That's just my opinion. I'm not a council person. You guys got a word at the white elephant. I'm sorry. I appreciate your service for doing it. But you seem to be creative guys. We need to get out from under this and pay Mr. Duncan without burdening the taxpayers. Again, I'm sorry about my position and my point on doing business, but that is doing business. It's not meant to be a snub or an insult. It's simply that, you know, when somebody shits the bed, you got to get them out of the bed.
All right,
Thanks so much.
Thank you. You want to make a comment?
Sure, just a brief comment. I don't think it's a good idea for you to go point to point with the comments that were made tonight. I do want to point out to you that half of what was said was misinformation, not accurate, not based upon fact, and not indicative of what actually had transpired. I don't need to go through, there were so many comments made, but I don't want you to sit here tonight as a council and think that everything that was said to you is based on factual accuracies. It is not.
Okay, thank you. No other citizens' comments, right? Okay. I will entertain a motion for the receipt of the following written reports for March 2014. The Treasurer's Report, the Financial Report, Act 511, and Trash Collection Report, Property Tax Collection Report, Police Report, Ordinance Officer's Report, the REMS Report, and the Engineer's Report.
So moved. Second.
We will talk about the engineer's report in a moment. Is there any discussion on any of the other reports?
Mr. Amendola,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Ms. Bunt, yes, Ms. Weitzel,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Now we'll go to the mayor's report.
I just have two items this evening that I'd like to bring up. Number one would be the Harvard Street crossing. I'd like, Jamie, if you could take a minute and let us know where we are on that. You had kind of gave me a briefing, but I'd like you to present it to the public. Thank you.
Sure, we are ready to go with all the tools that we have. At this juncture, we're just waiting for a solid 50-degree morning. We plan on going on about 4 in the morning so that we impact traffic less and hit all the stops on Student Street at once. And so really, at this point, we're just waiting for the weather to cooperate.
Okay. When that morning comes or comes close to when you're figuring it's going to be, looking at a forecast, could you let me
Absolutely.
know so I can make sure that the appropriate manpower is on duty at 4 in the morning that for traffic direction?
We have those folks for that.
I thought you said you wanted to close the whole road down.
No, we have certified flag people to
I
do that.
realize that, but you had said before you
Oh,
were
we
going to
talked
shut the
about-
whole road down, but you're not going to do that now.
It's still in discussion. I can talk with Mark about that unless you would rather do that.
No, just so when you know where
Right.
the project's going to go, that there's no issue to giddy up, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. And item number 2 that I have is that I'm requesting that council approve the chief of police to proceed with background investigations on the next candidates on the hiring list to get this process moving. There's going to be a vacancy come this month, and I'd like to have things rolling along so that, maybe we have somebody on board before vacations really get started. That's a request of council.
Are you talking about the police or other
I'm sorry?
staff? Are you talking about the police? There's gonna be a vacancy or other staff?
No, the police department.
I wasn't aware.
There's going to be a retirement.
I thought you meant something else.
No,
Okay.
no, please, I've been swinging from the racket by now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's all I have.
All right. Okay, any questions for the mayor's report? Let's move to the engineer's report.
All right, thanks. All right, we'll start off with Clearview Avenue. We actually had an update since then, since this report was put together. We had a bid opening on the 24th. Low bidder for alternate one and the base bid was Anthony Morante, same firm who did the last two phases. And I believe that's in the agenda for a motion in the agenda tonight. 2013 road program, just waiting for crack sealing, and that should be done here soon as the weather's warming up. 2014 road program is out for bid right now. Bid opening is May 8th. The 2014 CCTV project through SHACOG, we actually did get concurrence from all the, since this report was published, we have concurrence and we're working on contracts right now, so I will let you know as soon as we have a schedule of when they'll be in Crafton. My gut is it's going to be later in probably midsummer is what I'm guessing. 2013, actually I should say 2014 O&M defect repairs. We actually have concurrence on this one as well. We will after tonight, assuming motion passes tonight. We'll have concurrence on that as well. Crafton shares estimate $109,000, and State Pipe Services was the low bidder. Line contract through SHACOG as well. Crafton shares $182,000. We are still waiting on concurrence through SHACOG. I think we have a couple of communities, including Crafton, that we're still waiting on. Once we get all the concurrence, we will get the contracts out for signature, and then we'll be starting that project probably mid-May. Salt storage, we're just waiting on vegetation cover to complete the contract. And then Crafton Park, I believe they started today. They were supposed to, I don't know if the weather delayed them, but we did work this past month on helping the playground equipment guy kind of size the area for the playground that we put in. And then lastly on here, in rehab, we're just working on getting that started right now. Sat down with Jamie to discuss kind of some areas that we're going to be looking at this year, and that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Mayor?
T.A. Robinson, Noble Avenue and Steuben Street. When they repaired that street last year, they went on into Steuben and were unable to complete that intersection that's supposed to be repaved. Has there been any contact with Robinson about getting that work completed that was promised for spring?
I can ask.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Because that intersection's a mess over there, and
Right.
they promised it'd be up, and they had, weren't they supposed to seal Cross Street? I believe part of that wasn't done either?
Yeah, that's still.
That's the crack sealing.
Yeah, the crack seal, yeah, that's still planning to happen. I will find out about Steuben though.
Yeah,
Steuben
the
and Noble.
intersection, they said that they would do that in the spring.
We're
Is
not
that where
talking
the lot
we're
of
talking
was?
about Crafton Hill, we're talking about Noble.
Noble's,
Right.
where we paved the street last year, they couldn't get out into the intersection, and that's still over.
The other part's the water company, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I might be wrong, that might be the water company contractor.
It could be.
You know, but one of either T.A. Robinson or the water company's supposed to be doing that intersection.
Either way, it needs to be done this spring.
Yes.
I will communicate with Jamie regarding that, and I'll let her let you guys know what's going on.
Start tightening the screws to get this,
Right.
get the project.
Yep.
What about the curb, like the curb side when you're at the, was it the Chicken Twist? Coming out, Boston? No?
Dairy Queen, Thomas Street.
Yes, okay, so we all know where I'm at. So, that, it's really, really bad, and I know that PennDOT came and filled that in, but it's like it washed
Still-
away now.
Still bad.
Where's that, at Thomas Street? Is
Yeah.
that where they're doing
At
the,
the intersection where St.
No,
Philip's
it's
is.
at the bottom of Crafton Hill, the main road we did last year,
right,
the steep hill.
Yeah, it's stupid,
The,
right there.
The water that runs down Steuben Street from basically the corner, I don't know, all the way past the street light, is in quite bad repair. And they filled it at least twice. The first time it washed out almost immediately. The second time, it stayed a bit longer, but it's getting bumpier now. But that's not our road, right?
right.
That's the
We
county's
can-
road.
We can call them at least and ask
Yeah.
them to go out there and fix it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Right.
Actually, it is like starting almost the entire distance from Thornburg up to past Crafton Park.
Okay, it doesn't hurt to call some people
And
and
it
at
seems,
least let them know.
it appears it's all the places that they have crack sealing on the right-hand side
Right,
that seems to be deteriorating,
all right.
so.
My question would be, to PennDOT, what is their timeline on repaving Route 60?
Yeah.
The last time that was paved was at least 15 to 20 years ago.
Well,
And that needs milled from Josephine Street?
Didn't they do it when the G20 came in?
No, they didn't repave that.
no, because I was here when the G20 was here, and that was not done. But in
They
support
painted
of
new
it.
lines,
Pardon?
painted new lines.
Yes, that
Yeah,
makes
new
sense.
lines might have been painted, but the paving, but what's PennDOT's answer to, you know, okay, we've been sitting on this state highway for all these years and hasn't been repaved, and it's, I mean, if you drive down, anybody goes down Steuben Street, right towards the Thornburg Bridge, there's craters down there from
When the
construction.
bricks are, what I was gonna say in support, the bricks are, you can see the bricks underneath, so they dig right
At
over.
270 West Steuben, that's all state highway, and then all the way up to Noble, actually to Dinsmore, and then Dinsmore, all the way up backwards to Josephine Street at the city line.
Right.
You know, and, you know, it hasn't been done in 20 years, and there's been utility cuts in this road that have sunk, you know, and you're talking, it's a state highway, it's not our responsibility, but it sure would nice to put a little pressure on maybe Mr. Deasy or, you know, Jesse White or somebody to, you know, maybe get this.
Mr. Deasy should have seen it last weekend himself, right, at the electronic recycling event.
Well, in fact, he did, because that's the first time that they went out and filled that with cold patch. That bad section there right at Foster came from Deasy's office, so
Let's
follow
mention
up
it.
with her with that either.
Yeah.
Isn't that gonna be part of the agility agreement? Or is that? That would be separate. That payment program will be without any compromise from us.
They generally plan their projects out a couple years in advance, so we'll call there and find out. I'll let you know. And if it's not in the next couple of years, I'll find out when.
Or at least what their interim plan is, because so
Well,
it's not
they-
navigable, right?
Yeah, at minimum, they need to go out and patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even
That
a solid
road's
hot
cut.
patch, but that whole area down there needs done.
Any other questions for the engineer? Okay, let's move to the manager's report.
Okay, obviously, item number one, the engineer covered. We entered into an agreement last time with Ingram for the paving of Valley Street. However, that action needed to be done by ordinance. We since have advertised that. It went out on Friday, April 18th, and both solicitors have reviewed that agreement and sent to their respective councils for action. It is on our business agenda this evening. I'm in the process of receiving quotes for both the painting, repair of the exterior of the community center, and chemical washing, repointing of the borough building. Present, I have 2 written quotes for painting and 1 verbal and 1 written for the borough building for repointing. A lot of the moisture that we have in the borough building itself is coming from point repairs that need to be done. So those are both budgeted for this year as well. Woodlawn and Crafton Boulevard, obviously that was in the engineer's report. Parks and Recreation, demolition of playscape is completed. Site preparation actually was completed today by landscapers, and install commences as soon as this weather, horrible weather, stops raining. And we are on target for Memorial Day opening. As soon as I have a better idea of when we will have completion, we will plan a ribbon cutting ceremony for that particular park. Summer staff recommendations are on the business end agenda for action. Special events for the Great American Duck Out and Gala of the Stars also on the business agenda for action. The DCNR grant proposal was submitted on 4/16, and those announcements won't come until late fall, and since it is an election year, maybe even later than that. We have sent requests via our newsletter for instructors for recreation programming, and we've had at least 10 interested Crafton instructors come forward for various classes. So I believe we're actually in forward progress with recreation programming. Additionally, I met this week with a company by the name of Jumpstart Sports. It's an East Coast company that comes into your community and will essentially run recreation sports programs for you of children up to the age of 12. It's a win-win situation. Obviously, they staff it with certified instructors and both background check instructors, and they give you a 70-30 split, so you take 30% of that to have a recreation program, and they provide all the staff for it. We would just provide the space for that. Just making sure at this point what programs they're proposing do not conflict with programs that already exist here and in the surrounding areas. Clean Up Arbor Day, Wednesday, May 21st, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Both Mayor Bloom and Ms. Post have been working on this. I think we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of, is it
60.
Oh, it's 60. Oh, so my list was too long. 60 National Honor Society students here, helping to do cleanup in the park, painting, restoration of picnic tables, and those types of activities. Additionally, we'll be having Arbor Day and a proclamation on that day as well. Animal Control Service was adopted. Comcast franchise agreement, in light of needing some additional public participation, we recommend that we put that on the next work session, meeting May 14th, with action to be taken on the 19th. That needs to be done via resolution. Public Works contract, there's no update on that. Mr. Allward apparently is out of town. The employee handbook is still on Cubby for comment. Our audit has been delayed until June. Apparently there were some questions about our treasurer doing some additional work which was not done, so they were behind in getting that completed. The magistrate lease, we're waiting on the response to the proposed increase. PennDOT agility agreements on business agenda for action. We have received some response from DCED in regards to the $1.3 million debt act. I believe we should be able to straighten those out this week. It looks as though the soonest that we would be able to adopt that would be May the 5th, based on their recommendations. The Planning Commission appointment is on the business agenda for action. The multi-municipal comprehensive development plan, we're waiting on the signed contract from former manager Callan. Thornburg has suggested that they would like to be out. They're researching whether or not they have a plan from 2005. May want to get in on the back end later, but I think that for the interim they are definitely out. And that is not on the business agenda for action as it was adopted at the work session last time we met. And I will be out of the office May 12th to 15th for certified playground safety inspector school, and that's a recertification for me.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Yes.
What specific work did the treasurer not complete?
There was I believe we had talked with her last year about some changes that the auditors wanted to see in our format for how our audits were presented, and she was unable to complete those tasks. And I think Manager Callan's hope was that the auditors would complete those on their own, so that's why it is delayed. and that's according to our auditors.
I have a question. Under this multi-municipal comprehensive development plan, what kind of a contract are we waiting for from Mr. Cal?
It's just the signed contract from, that we had signed when we entered into the agreement with the other municipalities.
Is that what he was taking around?
Correct.
As they were